So y'all ask and I'm here to deliver. Let's get into my viral King Kyrie makeup look. So the first thing that I did, I primed my eyelids with the Milli Bobby Brown Skin Enriched Concealer, I believe. Um, I placed a burnt auburn brownish shade on my eyes as a base, and I just blended out the edges of that so there's no harsh lines, and I angled it out upwards to give that lifted effect. Then I go in with a cool tone dark gray shade in the outer V area, angling that out as well, blending the harsh edges, and then I'm going to go into the other step, which is placing down the nude shade. Now the placement of this nude shade is as if you're doing a soft cut crease, so there isn't really any proportion for you to follow. You just place it there and blend out the edges afterwards. I'm blending out my edges with the same gray tone shade, and this is how it's supposed to be looking. I line my eyes, my waterline, and the outer edges of my eyes and place that nude shade on my brow bone. Now I'm doing my skin prep. Using for skin prep, I'm using the Anua Global Milky Rice Toner. I love this toner. My skin legit eats it up whenever I place it. I'm now going to go in with the Carson Life Collagen Day Cream. I use this as a moisturizer. I use a generous amount because the skin legit absorbs this whenever I use this, so there isn't any quote unquote too much with moisturizer. And with moisturizer, I really appreciate if everyone uses moisturizer no matter your skin type. I just rub that in, massage it into my skin, and as you can see, it gives my skin an instant glow. Now I'm going to move on to foundation. I use the Fit Me Matte Foundation in the shade 375, and I mixed it with another orangish tone, warm tone foundation, because my winter shade is way lighter, right? So normally I just use the 375 only, but it's winter and my skin is looking a little bit lighter, so I have to mix it. I blend that in to the skin, and as you guys can see, the match is matching. The skin tone is skinning. After we have blended out our foundation, we are going to do our concealer placement. Now for my concealer placement particularly, I like to use two shades, right? So these are the placements I do. I do a little on the chin, under my eyes, a little bit to chisel my contour, on the bridge of the nose, and a little on the forehead. I then blend that out with a triangle powder puff. Make sure that it's damp, right? After blending with the triangle powder puff, I typically go over with my foundation brush to blend out the concealer edges, so there's a nice transition between light to dark. I then go in with my brightening shade, which is the Too Faced Born This Way in the shade Nude, and apply that in my inner corner. So for all of y'all who are always asking, how do I do the brightening under eye connection with my eyeshadow placement? This is it. So I really recommend you guys please attention to this. Now I place it in the inner corners just like that, and I start blending from the outer edges. This is really important. Blend from the outer edges using the same powder puff on the same side that you blend the first shade of concealer. Alright? Then when you reach the inner portion that most of the concealer is, you're going to pat, tap motions, not moving the product. Right? Not moving the product at all. Pat, and tap motions. Keeping it exactly where it is. This is really important. Alright? And just as we finish this step, we're going to go into our other step. So the other step that we're going to be doing is we're going to be going into our pressed powders. So I recommend you use your designated pressed powders. I'm going into the brightening powder first. And this is the shade that I'm going to be using for my brightening powder, and as you can see, I'm keeping that exactly where I placed that brightening shade. My second shade of powder, and I'm just using that on the outer edges on the rest of the places where I placed that first shade of concealer. Now you're going to set with your translucent powder, right? I set under my eyes first, and then I set the rest of the places that needs to be set. Now I'm going to go in with my first shade of bronzer. Yes, I used two shades, and I'm going to be using that shade as a base so it can transition from the brightening powder in the inner corner and the second shade of concealer to the bronzer. So there's a transition going on from the inner portion of the eyes to our bronzer. I'm going to use back that same brightening shade, and I'm using that to emphasize and brighten more under my eyes while sculpting the sides of the nose. Now that we have sculpted the side of the nose using our pressed powder, I'm now going to go in back again with my RCMA translucent powder, and I'm going to be using that to do the 2016 baking method. Now, this is my original bronzer shade that I placed on my cheekbones, and this is the other shade in comparison that I'm going to be using as my nose contour. I highly recommend using a bronzer shade that is one shade lighter than your original bronzer shade to use as your nose contour. Using the same nose contour bronzer shade that you use on your face to contour your nose is just going to look a little bit too harsh, and that's why you guys are going to have the two lines coming down on your nose. Yes, and y'all are not blending it out. So I recommend using a lighter bronzer shade to use as your nose contour. And as you guys can see, I'm snatching that nose, making it look like I just got a fresh rhinoplasty from Kim Kardashian's surgeon. Okay, we see the sculpting happening. This is how your nose is supposed to be looking. Now we're going to go into the other step, which is basically the lip combo. So I used a brown shade to line the outer perimeters of my lid, and then I used the black shade line my cupid's bow, my inner corners of my lips, and just smooth out the rest and give my lips more definition. I then go back over again with that set brown pencil, and I changed my mind. I no longer use the plum shade, right? So the first shade of lipstick I'm going to be using is the Strip Me Down in the MAC and A Dude by Gabriella Cosmetics. Big up Gabriella Cosmetics, because that lipstick there, top tier. Now I'm going to be highlighting my nose. I love to highlight my nose. I haven't been really doing it lately, but for this particular look, I thought that it really needed that little oomph, so I added some highlight to my nose to really give it that definition. That same highlight I'm using on my cheeks, and y'all, look at the glow. Look at the glow. It's not even too harsh. Now I'm going to be using the Urban Decay Space Cowboy Loose Glitter on my eyes. And guys, this is my first time using it, and it's beautiful. It looks like I have this ball on my eyes. Guys, I love this look. This is how it turned out. It's giving pretty much sultry, pretty much 2016. The highlight, the structure, the lips, the brows, the bronze. it was giving. Anyway, see you guys for another one. Bye.